Hello, everyone, and welcome, or maybe welcome back to Unconventional GMs, the channel where we play games in 2 hours or less with vim and vigor. This is an extended session. We played once before. If you haven't seen that episode of Regency Cthulhu, I highly recommend you go and watch that. If nothing else, go and see the trailer because that will get you excited about it. This may be the ultimate session of Call of Cthulhu, or maybe the penultimate. We'll see. So what we're trying with this little run of games is to just let the scenario run. Because Call of Cthulhu can lead to death or insanity or sudden ends, who knows what might happen? We'll play to find out, and that's part of the fun of the game. So who knows? Maybe this is our last Regency Cthulhu game. Maybe not. We'll find out. So, assuming you've all gone away in viewer land and watched the first episode again, even if just to remind yourselves of what happened and you're coming back, I'll do a little press in a bit. Let's remind ourselves of who we've got around the table besides my good self and who they're playing. So, Guy, shall we start with you?
Yeah, I'm Guy from the Burn After Running blog and obviously this as well. Today I am playing Dr. Algernon Drake, medical man from Harrogate, foremost in the medical advances of the time, much to the skepticism of the medical establishment, keen to find out what new advances can happen, although has probably been a little bit surprised by the medical and scientific advances that he's already discovered in this calm weekend away, and is keen to explore and learn more about them, not through direct experience, the following night, is all we'll say. So yeah, I'd just say as well, obviously it's a series, but remember when you're viewing it to like and subscribe. It just really helps us out with that. So that's me. That's what I'm playing.
Thank you very much. Other gentleman is Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Rogers. I'm the co-owner of Pelgrane Press, who publishes role-playing games and Pro Fantasy Software, which makes map-making software for role-playing games. And I am playing Captain Charles Oakley, a royal engineer who served in Nepal. He saw and heard some very strange things. He's come back, is now engaged, and still has a taste for investigating the strange and unusual.
Very good. And for the ladies, we have Mrs. Gillingham.
Hello, I'm Elena Gouliou. I am playing Mrs. Gillingham, who is a young widow with a fascination for the natural world and natural science. She's well-traveled and loves a good mystery.
Very good. And last but not least, we have Tasha.
Hi, I'm Tasha. I'm co-founder of Ukrainian actual play YouTube channel Idea Roll. And tonight I'm playing Beatrice Voss, who is a fan of unnatural world, on the contrary to Miss Gillingham. And she is a very educated in occult scientist lady who knows how to read tarot cards and signs of fortune.
Beautiful stuff. And for those at home who don't know me, I'm Gaz, the keeper for this evening. I'm also co-host of What Would the Smart Party Do, the UK's premier RPG podcast. So don't rush off and listen to that just yet. Let's do the episode first, then afterwards you can hear all about me there. We are at Fitzwilliam Manor. This is the Regency period, so around 1800. We're a bit vague about exactly when. This is TV Regency period, not historically accurate Regency period. The Lord of the Manor is rumoured to have an interest in things from foreign climes. He's well-travelled. He's brought back curios and even a manservant from abroad. But the word on the street, or in society as it would be in this case, is that he's not too well. The characters arrived, found one or two of the staff missing. It's hard to get the staff these days. And had a dinner party. The dinner party didn't go well. The Lord had an episode which the doctor saw to and noticed that Lord Fitzwilliam seemed to have some kind of surgery around his head that had been done. And also the footman seemed to have some kind of injury as well there. And although they repaired to brandy and cigars in the billiard room or to the blue drawing room for tarot reading and such, the characters all suffered some kind of unconsciousness, some strange visions. Something very weird happened, for which keen viewers and fans of Call of Cthulhu will not. We didn't make the sanity roll. My horrible players forgot to remind me. So we're going to do that right now before I tell you what else happened. Can we all please make sanity rolls? The awful visions and lack of self that he had during that time. Oh, that's a lot of red flashed up on the screen then. So if you passed, you lose 1 sanity. If you failed, can you roll yourselves a d10, and that's how many sanity you lost.
Is there any benefit from extreme success?
You get the applause of the crowds. How well he did.
I'll take it.
So if to alter your sanity, you'll need to go the character sheet into edit mode to reduce the value, and then back into normal mode, which is.
What do we do if we failed?
Roll 1d10, or I can do that for you if you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Whoops. Just throw my microphone around while I do that. Roll 1d10, just 2. So if you change any values in your character sheet, you'll have to go to the top right where there's an edit button that you have to slide across to then change the number, and then slide it back again to start rolling it. Which is why people might have seen lots of rolls just appear on the character sheet, but you'll all work out. So if you lose more than 5 in one go, or 5 or more, you're supposed to have an episode. So the doctor will have had one of those, but thankfully it was in his room when he was on his own. And if you want to fill us in at any point as to what happened, or do a flashback, feel free, guy. We can narrate that in, or you can leave it open to later description if you wish.
I'll leave it hanging maybe to come back to when I've got an idea.
And something
or
might
if something comes up and I remember back in the room what I was up to. Yeah.
Make a note for yourself. That's fine. So the following morning, you all awoke because the Lord, who was distant and seemed to be reaching around for words and thoughts, was very focused in the morning. He was shouting at Dorothy, the poor elderly maid. He was trying to clean a stain out of the rug, and it wasn't coming out, and apparently has not come out for several days, despite the Lord's urging. He had an argument with his wife. They retired. You tried to yourselves examine what was going on, and it didn't seem natural, but you were unable to ascertain any other information. You went your separate ways. You looked around. You noticed that Arkwright was missing, a boorish businessman, but his wife was there and seemed a lot nicer and more pleasant in the morning, although she barely said anything. Rushworth, the other captain that's around, is still drunk and a bit of a cad and rake, as far as you can tell. And you visited the hothouse to see what might be there, and had an unfortunate incident with one of the men, and the ladies narrowly avoided an unpleasant experience potentially with an enamel mug and some gin around the back of the Hermitage. So thank God all our blushes were saved there, and we didn't have to draw any veils across anything. And other bits and pieces have happened, but I think that's enough of a primer to kind of get us going and get to some action, because that's what we're all here for, isn't it? So we're going to start off. It's a weekend at Fitzwilliam Manor, or that's how it's billed anyway. We'll see if you get to the end of the weekend or not. It's now Saturday afternoon, and you've kind of been paired off into different groups. So the ladies have been invited by Lady Fitzwilliam to go and have a picnic on the ground near the rose gardens and the maze and other features like that, which you can gaze upon while you chat and maybe have a tarot reading, something like that. And the gentlemen have been offered some hunting, because there are extensive manicured forests nearby, or you could even go out into the wilds potentially. So that's the way you've been split. And I think we'll start with the gentlemen, if that's all right. I know it's usually ladies first, but I decided to be contrary, such is my want. So you've got yourselves a horse. I will assume you can ride to a reasonable degree. There's kind of a breech-loading weapon that's a forerunner of a shotgun, which you may not be familiar with, but it's point and shoot and pellets go everywhere, so you hope you're able to hit things. The newly renewed Lord Fitzwilliam seems in rude health, and he's very up for this, far from the distant self he was the previous night. The new Houndmaster, one of the things he discovered was Rollo, the old one's disappeared, along with Harriet the housekeeper. Horace is there, and there's a motley selection of dogs as you make your way to the forestry. There's a couple of boxers who are kind of herd control and keeping an eye out and being watchful. There's a gaggle of you think beagles, but they're probably mutts of some sort, all excitedly yapping and straying at the leash, which Horace is just about managing to keep control of. There's some spaniels for retrieving should you hit some birds or other game that needs bringing back for you, and a couple of other mutts and mongrels amongst it as well. There's a wider variety of canines that are causing all kinds of mischief, not only for the horses and the handmaster, but anyone else who gets too near. But in this group, you head into the forests. They are quite manicured, but nevertheless kept in such a way by the gameskeeper that there's plenty of fowl and other such things that you might find. As you're traveling, Doctor, you're probably slightly behind and not quite as forward as the rest, but Captain Rushworth, who still seems worse for wear after last night's activity, is kind of held back a little bit as well. And he brings his horse near to yours and says, listen, old boy, something. I'm not one to blame the servants, but it seems I've misplaced my wallet last night. I can't really. Don't tell anyone else, but I can't really remember what happened. You won't be able to lend me a few guineas, would you? Just for the weekend. I could repay, obviously, next week. I just to find myself a little short. I wouldn't dream of telling Lord Fitzwilliam that his servants are thieves, but my money's gone. That's all I can say.
It's interesting you should say that. I had a similar experience myself, Captain. I seem to have lost the far end of the evening. I don't. It's difficult sometimes to keep pace with the cigar smoke and the brandy in a new place. I don't know about it. Don't worry about the money, old chap. I can sort you out. I just wonder, mightn't we maybe go out and look for where they might have stashed it when we get back?
Or perhaps.
Maybe we could search the grounds. They won't have kept it in their possession. So
No,
maybe we could go and look around. Maybe enlist the other our friend Captain Oakley along. We could try and find your wallet and avoid all wonderful unpleasantness.
Oh yes, that's very. Maybe if you suggest it as your idea, I mean, I'm sure it's just my paranoia, but it seems like Captain Oakley doesn't seem to like me very much. I'm sure we're best of friends, but maybe it's something I said. I can't remember most of last evening. Maybe I said something untoward.
Don't worry. Stick with me, man. I'll try and mix you up a stiffener for tonight, so
lovely.
You can stay a bit more complimentary. I'll certainly be having one myself because, as I say, I had a similar experiences. I imagine that it's a medical man. I've seen chaps like yourself, full of joy de vivre and stuff. I imagine that losing the end of an evening to and waking up in a strange place in the morning isn't beyond the realms of possibility in your experience, is it? Has it happened
quite
before?
Familiar, one might say, but
yes.
normally I remember a little bit more.
Yeah, well, it's rather unusual for me. In fact, I can't remember it happening before. I think several of our fellow guests had a similar experience, and I don't know what's happened to Arkwright either. So my advice to you, Richard, is just keep your wits about you. Don't make a scene or anything, but maybe let us know if you notice anything. And as I say, when we get back, we'll turn that place upside down and find your wallet. Don't you worry. I'll slap him on the shoulder.
Yes. Oh, very good. I'll probably stake out the billiard room in case the thief comes back. But yes, we should definitely do that.
In case they've stashed it in the drinks cabinet, perhaps.
Yes. God, I'm glad you suggested that.
I thought you would think that, yes.
Excellent. And you carry on about your merry way. Meanwhile, towards the front, I imagine, Captain Oakley, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're at the front of the chase, along with the Lord himself, quite robustly and manfully carrying about the hunt.
Absolutely, yes. We're hunting foxes, are we?
Anything that moves seems to be Lord Fitzwilliam's direction. He's not particularly discerning when it comes to that. It's almost like he's not hunted for a while, and he feels like he's got a new lease of life.
Follow the hounds.
GG as they bark and yap. And as you rush around, we'll skip over what is shot and what happens for a little bit, and assume that you've taken a cigar or a pipe at one point to have a little break. And Lord Fitzwilliam sort of nods to you, and you do all the very goods and all that kind of stuff. And he says, I'm quite surprised that Arkwright's gone missing. Very weird. I thought he was coming to discuss business, but he's not. He seems to have gone home or something. He's in his room. He wasn't in his room. Do you know what happened to him?
Lord Fitzwilliam, it does seem to me that a number of people are going missing from your estate. And while you are in the soundest of health at the moment, last night you seemed to suffer some kind of episode. And I wondered, perhaps, first of all, are you taking some kind of medicine since you returned from, since you were married, that you haven't been taken before? Or a new kind of drink? Or
Oh, a
perhaps
variety. Yes, a variety of tonics.
provided
fact-
by your wife or Nepalese servant?
Or both. You can't be too careful with your health. That's what I say. If you're offered something, you should listen to the experts or people who seem to know about these things. I certainly don't.
I know a man who knows all about these things, and that would be the doctor. So with your permission, I'd very much like him to have a look at them and a quick look at you as well, just to have a second opinion, as it were. I hope you find that to your liking. And I know I'm not a married man, but I'm working that way. And I do know that it's sometimes best to keep things from the ladies to stop them worrying. So perhaps we could examine these without informing Lady Fitzwilliam at this stage, because she might be a little discommoded if she finds that you're seeing another doctor. How do you feel about that, my lord?
Well, that seems fairly reasonable, I suppose, as long as it's nothing too intrusive. Listen, and he sort of looks around conspiratorially to make sure no one else has caught up with you yet. And apart from the barking of dogs, there's no other sounds. He says, have you... I don't know. I've been having I had some strange dreams. I don't know whether it's these tonics or something else, but there was a blue woman riding a massive fly. Very disconcerting.
Was this
What
last
do you
night?
make of that? Oh, yes.
Right. My understanding is that all of us, certainly your guests here, experienced other hallucinations, each individual. And we believe that it may be related to a beverage that was provided to us by the butler at the behest of your wife.
Well, I'm sure the claret was fine. It certainly wasn't very vinegary. I don't know.
It was very high quality, but it may have been, let us say, adulterated.
Well, no one likes adultery. Let's be clear about that.
Or adulteration.
Any one of those things.
Yes, I'm glad we're just gentlemen here discussing these matters privately, of course.
Of course. Well, my daughter and her husband should be here tonight, which would be nice. That should mix things up.
Oh, I look forward to it.
Even if we've lost Arkwright, to begin Patience and Lord Tristan. So that'll be nice.
Well, with your permission,
best to keep this sort of things from her. Don't tell her I'm ill. She'll worry.
Absolutely. But with your permission, perhaps we could explore your grounds to see if we can see any, well, for our own amusement, but also to see if we can find any traces of missing people, as it were.
Well, of course. I mean, if you find the stuff, I'm not sure I want them back. But whatever, for your own edification, my dear boy, you go ahead.
But Mr. Arkwright, his carriage has not left, to the best of my knowledge, which means something must have happened to him.
Oh, no, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yes, perhaps he's... yes, maybe one of his business associates. I don't know. Details, dear boy. Anyway, I feel there's some woodcock over here. Shall we head in that direction?
Absolutely.
And, we shall leave the gentleman for a moment as you head off, just as the doctor and the other captain have just arrived. That's when, obviously, the Lord and Captain Oakley head off into the forest once more. Meanwhile, back at the Rose Gardens, the ladies are out there, and you have there's Mrs. Rushworth with you. He seems quite sanguine, and Mrs. Arkwright doesn't appear to care about the missing nature of her husband at all. Isn't saying very much. She just sat there quite prettily and primly, smiling to herself. And the lady of the house is sort of sitting all down. This puts out some blankets. Dorothy, the elderly maid, slowly bringing some refreshments over, although it's taking a very long time. But that's only helping increase your appetite and make your thirst grow, so you'll appreciate them all the more when they arrive. As you're sat there, you notice nearby, not really trimming the hedges of the maze, but kind of like he's got some big shears that he's kind of clipping near them. One of the men servants, it's that leering footman, Ludlow, that you saw yesterday by the hothouse. And he's looking over at you, Miss Voss, and he's got that recognition that, like, he knows you from somewhere, but he can't quite place you, and he's kind of just staring in your direction. Do you do a saying thing or just leave him to his business?
I'll just mumble under my nose, like a bit rude, staring not to him, but more like everyone around.
Yeah, Lady Fitzwilliam glances up and says, Ludlow, what are you doing, man? Stop glaring. That's obscene behaviour. Right, he looks a bit about, sorry, my lady, and like tugs at his forelock and sort of wanders off to find him something a little bit better to do. He keeps looking back over and scratching his head.
It's so
And,
hard to find good help these days.
You're not wrong. And Lulu the spaniel runs off after him, barking and capering around, hurrying him along his little way. As you're all sat there, and finally Dorothy's turned up with some refreshments and such like that, the lady sort of looks around and says, "Now then, Mrs. Gillingham, I hope you'll accept my apologies. The dinner last night was disastrous. I was hoping for so much more out of it. I simply cannot apologize enough for the terrible nature of it."
Your hospitality is always most gracious. Don't even think about it. It was the most splendid affair.
Well, I had nightmares about it. Tell me, and she gets a strange look over her face. Did you have nightmares last night?
I did actually. I thought it might have been the change of weather. But what was your nightmare about?
I couldn't possibly say. Someone could interpret for me, couldn't they? And her eyes slide across to Miss Voss. Miss Voss, perhaps I could press you to get out your tarot cards, and you could do us a reading. Perhaps see my past and my future.
I would be delighted. Maybe also there are some secrets in your present you're not aware of.
Oh, that's how enticing. And all the ladies kind of lean in to see what happens as you start to deal out your cards. So I will reveal a handout to you, but that's all going to depend on whether your occult roll that you're about to make is successful or unsuccessful. So if you
Fair
could do
enough.
that for me, I'll show something to you.
Minute. One occult roll coming your way. Ah,
Lovely.
not only it is a failure, but it's also a fumble.
Good.
Push it.
Well, I'll show it to all the players.
Yeah, push it.
This is a roll you can't really push because it's as you're doing it, you've either succeeded or failed, so you can't retry or anything like that. So I'll put it up for all players, but you should be able to see particularly, Tasha. So I'll let you interpret that as you deal out the cards. So what do you think the cards say?
So the card beneath is your past. It is the Six of Swords, and it tells us about a transition that you went through. You left some things behind, something very important to you, because you were following your dreams, your goals, something even more important. And then the present, and I flip the card, and there is a hanged man. And these are the obstacles. There is something stalling you. And well, usually this is the fear of sacrifice, but I believe there might be something you need to sacrifice to achieve your dreams, to make them come true. It might be something metaphorical, not necessarily the sacrifices which we are used to think about, like in old barbaric times, like blood and everything, but sometimes it is more important to sacrifice something metaphorical, something important to you, leaving it behind. And when we're looking to the future, we see the moon. That points us to intuition, and we all know that female intuition is the most vivid and most true one. So you should know that this is what you should work with and use to achieve your goals. Trust your intuition, trust your inner sight, this is something that will never betray you.
You see her, sort of, yes. Yes, I've been worrying too much about my husband. You're right. I need to think about more myself and trust my gut feelings. Yes.
Exactly. Do not leave yourself behind. Do not put him first. Think about your future.
And look, that's the Hierophant reversed. That means a new approach, doesn't it? Yeah, I need to try something different. I've perhaps been too subtle in my...
Exactly. You are very good in reading the cards, my dear.
Yeah, so
I
the
can
Ten of
tell it's not
Cups.
your first seance.
No, not at all. The Ten of Cups, that's fulfilled dreams. Domestic harmony. My daughter's coming to dinner tonight. Oh, yes, I can... Well, not my stepdaughter, you understand, but I call her my daughter because she's like family. Yes, okay. Oh, the way ahead's clear for me now, and she seems to really perk up. Thank you so much. Yes,
Yeah.
now I know what I must do.
You are very welcome.
So tell us about your daughter, because I haven't met her before. I haven't had the pleasure.
Oh, she's been a little unwell, but I've sent her some tonics, and I believe she'll be well enough to travel now. But she's very nice. She's the image of her mother. Such a shame that she was taken from us so soon, but fortuitous that I'm part of the family now. So, with one hand, God gives, and with the other, He takes away. She's
It is so good that you take good care of her.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'd She looks round to make sure there's no maids or anything listening too close. Says, I'd be careful of Lord Tristan, though, her husband. A terrible match. He's a horrible man. I wouldn't believe a word he says. He's an inveterate liar, pompous, arrogant. Well, you know what men are like. He's the worst traits that you can imagine any man.
Oh, how so? That's a terrible connection.
Well, for one thing, he suggests that my marriage to the Lord is not valid in some way, or that it was too soon after the fact. All kinds of horrible things he's been saying. I mean, obviously, be polite. We can't have another repeat of last night's dinner, but I mean, if he takes you into his confidence, I wouldn't trust what he says.
Of course. And Mrs. Arkwright, how is your husband this morning? I haven't seen him at all.
And she kind of looks at you glassy-eyed. It's not too dissimilar a way to how Lord Fitzwilliam was on the first night when you arrived. And Mrs. Rushworth kind of leans over to her and says, "My dear, but treat? Would you like a treat?" And she holds up like a little vol au vent with some smoked mackerel in. And Mrs. Arkwright, like head whips round and opens her mouth, sticking her tongue out, and the lady puts the vol au vent in. She wolfs it down and then looks quite happy and sits there smiling. And Mrs. Rushworth kind of like brushes her hair a little bit, and says, "Oh, you are looking beautiful today." And she kind of leans into it and smiles absently. We don't need to worry about Mr. Arkwright. I'm sure he's just off on business.
Off the
Oh, has he
property?
left the manor?
Oh, probably. I mean, I haven't seen him around, so I assume a carriage came for him or something. Probably left first thing. I think we're all a bit sleepy in the morning, weren't we? We had a heavy night last night.
True.
And we will smash cut away from there, back to the gentleman, for I fear we've left them too long already. As you're rushing through the forests, enjoying yourselves. At one point, you get quite close to the iron-wrought fences where there's a break in the wall. And Captain Oakley, you notice beyond, there's a couple of the common folk kind of staring through. You think you even recognize them, perhaps from one of the infantry divisions. Fogarty, Perkins, names like that, perhaps. They seem to be staring through. Fogarty, you particularly remember as one of those barracks room lawyers who knew all the rules and regulations and was a thorn in the side of every officer, constantly a stickler and trying to wheedle more things to benefit the men rather than getting on with the job.
Was he an NCO or a private?
Both. He has been an NCO and was frequently returned to private status due to his activities.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll acknowledge them. Obviously, I want to keep things as they should be, and if I don't have fond memories of him, then I'm not going to kind of embrace him as a fellow warrior. Do they doff their caps or salute?
No. Well, Perkins kind of half does, and Fogarty looks across at him witheringly. and he pulls his hand back down again. And Foxy's like he's staring at particularly Lord Fitzwilliam with disdain. Yourself, not much better.
Mm-hmm. Do you have work to attend to? What are you doing gawping?
I see you're one of them, are you, sir? Come for the activities this weekend, have you? Another one of them.
I judge men by their character, not their social station. And it is in that way that I'm regarding you at the moment.
Well, I view men by the company they keep, and you keep very poor company, sir, if I may say so.
If you were a gentleman, I would call you out for that remark. To whom are you addressing your concerns? Are you saying that Lord Fitzwilliam has something to answer for?
Of course he does. Everyone in the town knows there's something unnatural happening in here. We're going to find out what it is. And if you're part of it, you'll be held to account as well, sir.
Okay, I will dismount and walk towards him.
Okay. He takes a couple of steps back from the railing, so he's not.
I'm not looking. I'm not looking intimidating. I'm switching to charm mode.
I think at this point I shall sort of dismount and like say, I'd better just stay here, Rushworth. Keep an eye on the Lord.
Yeah, if I can speak to them out of earshot of Lord Fitzwilliam, that would be very helpful.
Sure, definitely. I'm sure the doctor can drag the others off in some direction.
Yeah. I'll create a distraction or something.
Sure.
Look, man, I think there may be something in what you say. We only came here last night, and there are some very strange things happening here. A couple of the servants have either been dismissed or gone missing altogether, as has one of the guests, and there are other very strange things happening. So much as I have my issues with you, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. Perhaps you can help me, as we're investigating, to tell me what you know.
Okay, you're going to have to make either persuade or charm or something similar to convince him that you're on the level and you're not just another toff who's going to scream over.
Okay.
Okay. He looks you in the eye and nods and says, okay, we've served in the same places together. I've seen your character. I'll take you on trust. But my old words stay true. If you betray us, you'll be first against the wall. There's not servants going missing from the manor. They go missing when they go to the manor. That's why he has trouble getting people. Anyone who works for him soon enough dies or disappears. In the night, the strange lights come from that manor complex. Most nights, freezing unnatural fog consumes the grounds.
Do the lights come from actually within the house or from one of the outbuildings?
From the grounds somewhere. An unnatural fog pervades the grounds. It's hard to tell exactly where, but you can see the lights from a distance. Someone inquired and the Lord said, oh, it has fireworks, but that's ridiculous. There's no sounds. There's just the colours and that unnatural cloying fog.
Last night, I believe that we were slipped something that knocked us out. So tonight, perhaps we will pretend that that is effective and then go and explore the grounds. If you could perhaps be standing by with some doughty men at the border, and if you hear the hunting horn, come in and give us some aid.
And he kind of looks across at Perkins. He looks a bit kind of wide-eyed about it all and nervous. He says,
come on, men, you served.
You keep them occupied tonight, and I'll do more than stand by. We'll enter the grounds. We'll have a good look around. There's plenty of buildings and hideaways in these large, extensive grounds where things can be going on. You keep the nobility occupied, and we'll have a good look at what's going on here. And he kind of steps forward, like thrusts his hand through the gates to shake your hand.
If I'm not in direct sight line of the Lord, I will shake his hand.
Okay. He has a firm, manly grip, as you do, I imagine. And you look at each other and nod, and then go your separate ways to do your business. Meanwhile, Doctor, you're with the group, so to speak, and it's at that point that Horace, who's barely in control of the hounds anyway, loses control, and a bunch of them go running into the undergrowth, and an array of things happens at once. Some woodcocks and other birds flee from the trees. Some pheasants burst from ferns and undergrowth. a couple of hairs start tearing away, and the dogs go in all directions. The Lord shouts out in glee as his horse rears, and he just about keeps control of it. Lets go of his single shotgun, we'll call it. It's something earlier than that, but for the sake of brevity, lets his shotgun go, immediately throws it down to get reloaded, and says, there, look at that fat one, and starts running towards it. And Felton, the big hulking footman who's been with you, like races after it. He's almost on all fours. He's running so fast to get after this creature. And the Lord goes after it as well. Captain Rushworth is swept up in the whole activity as everything's going on. What do you do? Are you joining in? Are you trying to hold back? Are you trying to keep contact with your captain, or what do you do?
I'm going to rather than chase after, I'm going to make to chase after them, but actually go to sort of where in the undergrowth the rest of the dogs have gone, just to see if there's anything else weird around here that might have caused them to take fright from there, and also to maybe try and make it. I don't know. I'm no horseman, so I'm just making it look like I've just panicked and maybe gone in the wrong direction or whatever. But just have a good sort of ride around while they're distracted to see what strange things might be going on here.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to make a roll to not look like a good horseman.
Look, my incompetence is expert. Yes,
you lean into it here. Can you make a spot hidden roll for me?
Yeah, I can. My incompetence is indeed.
No, you are lost for some time. You're like you know you're within the grounds because there's a wall.
Can I? Yeah.
Push it.
Is there a chance to push it? I don't know if I'm thinking that what I'll do is I'll actually properly ride around and actually risk being actually lost in the grounds.
Well, there's a chance of physical injuries if thrown from your horse or something of that net. Try imagine if you if you want to push.
Yeah, I will push as I inexpertly ride even faster.
Yeah, just go breakneck trying to find.
But I'm still going to roll spot hidden because I'm slightly better.
Of course, pushing. That's what pushing does. Yeah. Oh, success. Okay. Excellent. So you ride like the clappers, to coin a phrase, cracking your head at one point on a low-hanging branch and being unhorsed. But fortunately for you, that happens to be where there is something to see. And you landed very softly. You were expecting it to be, that slow motion as you went backwards. You were kind of waiting for the crunch as you landed, but it was relatively soft. And it's as you kind of pull yourself up and start brushing leaves and things off you and look down, you see there's a mound, is probably the crying there. There's a pile of dead animals. Largely, it looks like dogs. And most of them have their heads opened, and not in a bear's attacked them open, but like someone's deliberately sawn their craniums open, and there's hollows where the brain should be. Do you have protection against this sort of thing for sanity rolls, or do you need to make a sanity roll?
I don't know. I'm immune to sanity losses resulting from viewing a corpse or gross injury.
That's fine. I'll say you don't need to make your roll. You can.
I look at it with
it's not pleasant, but you can.
Yeah. I sort of switch and look at it with a surgeon's eye. I'm just gonna, in fact, I am gonna do that. I'm gonna, where these incisions have been made in the skulls. Is this an expert cut? Is this some sort of backstreet barber surgeon, or is this somebody who really knows what he's doing?
Make a medicine roll.
Yes,
I'd success.
That's success.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's beyond surgery almost. Like in modern parlance, if you said like a laser had cut things, it's that fine and cauterized, and that's what it would be. I don't know how Algernon would like frame it in his Regency period kind of like mindset, but that's what it's like. It's like machine cut rather than anything. So it's definitely not ragged, and it's been done deliberately and with expert precision.
And the dogs, are they, or just a variety of animals?
Mostly dogs. There's a couple of smaller animals mixed in there, but only a couple.
And sort of machine cut, but almost like they do. Does it look similar to the scars that I saw on Lord Fitzwilliam's head? I think
got
that
a
was
hard
the
success,
same,
didn't you? Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not. It would not be unreasonable to assume it's the same level of skill and/or method that did it.
Excellent.
But then I imagine after that you can take a couple of bits of samples or evidence of what you need to, and then try and find your horse again to get back.
Yeah. I'll try and sort of get that down, making sure I look sufficiently dishevelled to, but not with loads of like animal blood down me. If I can help it.
Of course. So, ladies, is there anything else you wish to push for, or
I would like to take Mrs. Arkwright for a walk and try and find out what's happening with her. So I might just wink at Beatrice to see if she can provide a distraction.
Yeah, I would. There is a lady, Fitzwilliam and Mrs. Rushworth, right?
Rushworth? Yeah.
Right. I would say that, you know, I'm not particularly sure about this last reading. Would you like to push even further and try the crystal ball, which I conveniently have here with me, but we would need another person to assist us with it. Mrs. Rushworth, would you be so kind? You would need to hold the lady by her arm, and we need to chant together, and maybe we can gaze into the future to see what it has prepared for her.
Okay, I'm going to need you to make a mesmerism roll to try and
Oh,
carry
okay.
off this code. Yeah. It's going to be in a pause roll to see if you can conclude the distraction.
Let's try it. I'm going to spend 2 luck points to make it a success, and let's see.
Okay. So you're only going to be able to hold her attention temporarily and quite quickly. Lady
Okay.
Fitzwilliam is going to get up and follow, but it just give a brief time for
Will
Elaine's
she?
character to.
Are you gonna roll psychology for her?
I've done it.
Ah, you did. Okay.
I have manual dice which I'm using, so you don't get to see the results.
Smart. Okay, I hope that I will just need a bit of time for.
Yeah. So you've done enough for a brief window, but yeah. So
it's just
Lady,
enough to.
Sorry, Mrs. Gilliam's got a chance to do a brief assessment, but can't spend an extended period of time with them.
Mhm.
So Alina, what is it you wish to do?
So I think I will take Mrs. Arkwright at the sides and stuff to tell her quietly, but my dear, are you feeling all right? You look a little bit out of spirits today.
And she cocks her head on one side and looks at you intently, and like there's this little smile on her face.
Do you remember what happened last night?
And she kind of like looks up at the sky and then looks at you and puts her head on the other side. She starts to shuffle a little closer to you.
All right. I'll go closer. It's like, is there something you have to tell me?
And she leans in like she's going to whisper something to you, so you can move your hat to one side. And there's a warm, wet feeling in your ear. She gently like nuzzles and licks at your ear, and then there's a rasp, and she licks at the side of your face a couple of times, and then buries her head next to in the nape of your neck, just kind of nuzzles up to you.
I'm going to look at her with unbelieving eyes and say, Fifi, is that you?
And she just stands bolt upright and looks at you, and the tongue kind of comes out. It's at that point that Mrs. Fitzwilliam comes up going, no, come on, there's too much excitement here. Come on, this way. And she holds out a little mackerel vol au vent, and Mrs. Arkwright runs to her.
I'd like to be sorry to interrupt. I'd like to be a good player, Gaz, and suggest that don't forget any sanity rolls that might be needed, because it was so remiss last time to not remember to remind us. All our fault, wasn't it? All on us.
Good play. Yes, you get a mackerel vol au vent for that yourself. I'll send one up to you. Okay, yeah. So can we have a sanity roll, please?
Yes,
Mrs. Gillingham. Okay. You kind of half suspected, so like there's something amiss. You don't know it actually is Fifi, but there's definitely something's going on. And it seems the other ladies immediately take Mrs. Arkwright away, and they're almost rude with you, Miss Farston. Like they don't even make apologies. They just kind of like they see what's happening and like just get up and throw your crystal ball down and like rush over. and then take her away. We'll see you at dinner, ladies, of course.
Of course.
And before we get to dinner, we'll just nip back to the gentleman finally, as it's towards the end of the hunt. So you've finished all the business. I imagine you all got back together again and all kind of like arranged yourselves. Horace is still trying to find some of the dogs. They're around here somewhere. He's not quite sure, but he's got the majority under control. There's an animal on the floor, a fox, that's been shot in the head. And there's obviously some leakage and fluids that have come out and that sort of thing. And as you're all kind of like assembling, you can see the Lord is stood over, he's dismounted, stood over the body of this fox. And he's looking down and he kind of shaking his head, biting his fingernails, saying he mustn't interfere. It's because this is his own fault. He mustn't interfere. What are you doing to me? No, he mustn't interfere. And he starts to like fall back into that state he was that first night when you saw him. And you can see next to him, like Felton's there, who's like looking at him a bit concerned. But you notice that Felton's got blood around his mouth, like he's literally grabbed hold of an animal at some point and ragged it around his mouth or something, or eaten some or something like that. And it's a very strange scene.
Could Dr. Drake maybe mention the dog bodies very quickly?
I will in a moment. I think I will rush to the Lord first and say, Lord, quick, have some of this tincture, inhale deeply, and give him some sort of smelling salts or some of the...
So is your intent just to calm him down, or
to try and bring him out of this state? Because I think yeah.
Okay, you can make a medicine roll, but you're going to need to get a hard success.
Okay, can I click on hard? I don't think I can I? Roll options. Let's see if this works. Yes, that didn't work. No.
The mechanics work, so the roll didn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
so we'll say
inhale
that,
deeply.
he does inhale deeply, and your tincture works as well as it should do in terms of knocking someone out or calming them down. So he doesn't panic anymore, but he becomes virtually stupefied. And Horace is sort of like calling for more servants to come and help and that sort of thing. So he's not really useful to speak to.
Yeah. Well, in this chaos, I will mention. I'll go to Captain and set up. Happen upon a pile of dead dogs, small animals, their brains surgically removed, almost machined.
Now, bear with me.
Your saber, sir. Imagine if bone and skull had been cut with the precision of the side of that.
Now, bear with me. I'm talking as a layperson here. I'm concerned that brain matter has been moved from these creatures to somewhere else, if you see what I mean. And so my suggestion to you, and this is a horrifying thought, might be a wise idea to examine the skulls of Zeus, for example, to see if he also has these strange markings, perhaps the other dogs.
So, well, I had mentioned before, these scars are on the skulls of several of our hosts, including
that I have seen. But could you check the dogs?
I think yes, we should. Begin chasing the dogs around, helping Horace to round them up.
Is that enormous dog Zeus around, or is he still locked in his cage? Because he's the one I think may well be the candidate for this horror. You
were aware when you set out on the hunting expedition he was still locked up because he was considered dangerous for biting people.
Yes. Okay. Oh dear.
Okay, so we'll smash cut forward to back at the manor. I think the Lord's been helped home. He should be at dinner, and perhaps I don't know whether the rest of you want to sort of like coalesce and sort of discuss things in one of the drawing rooms about what you found, and then we can maybe discuss anything you might want to briefly do before dinner starts.
Yes, I think I will. We'll share what we learnt on the hunt, and I will share my hypothesis, particularly to Lady Gilliam. Impossible, I know. You'll consider me a madman.
Mrs. Arkwright is a dog, but not in the colloquial sense, in a real sense.
That's impossible. It's medically impossible. Oh, wait, no, I was going to say that to you. Dogs, brains transplanted, but by no human hand that I've ever seen. If whoever is doing this is the most advanced medical practitioner known to man, it would be incredible if I could see what their work was like. And I think at that point we'd get a little flashback to last night, where because I'd seen the scars at that point, and I think I was just assailed. I'm back working in the hospital to the first incident that happened with my encounter with the supernatural, when a cadaver that I knew to be deceased, got up and walked out. And I'm back in the hospital, and as I make my way to the morgue to look for disturbance, I'm arrayed by all the guests of last night, are all there with their heads sliced off, all just walking around and sat in some strange like parody of the meal that we had last night, with stuff oozing out of their heads and stuff. And I said, yes, I dreamt of this last night. Yeah, we have to stop this or find out what's causing it.
So first, I think we must make sure that we don't imbibe anything that is poisonous, and either we can replace the tonics that are being put into our drinks or surreptitiously avoid drinking them. Then we need to get out into the grounds in the fog, and find out what these strange lights are, and we may learn more about these bizarre occurrences.
Also, we made it to the greenhouse, and I believe Mrs. Gillingham saw some strange insects or plants, or what was it?
Well, the insect and the plants are not necessarily the cause of the problem. The cause is this fertilizer that looks like a black oily liquid. I've taken a sample, doctor. Look at this.
So it looks like a black oily liquid.
It looks like something the maid was trying to clean in the morning, right?
That's right.
It does.
So someone takes stuff from the greenhouse and brings it at night to the house.
But why?
To turn people into dogs and backwards. Oh, maybe Mrs. Tabitha, Lady Tabitha, was the first one. If she's sending the visions about being locked in a dark place, maybe she's locked in some dog's head.
Now,
or a kennel.
My concern is that Zeus, the big dog that is locked in the kennels, is in fact the former master of hounds, which would explain his disturbed circumstance. And also, Miss Voss, your tarot reading, where you mentioned now was the time for sacrifice, was perhaps a little ill-advised in the circumstances.
Well, it was before I learned all of the dog business.
Sacrifice can sometimes be.
I did emphasize that it was not literal.
Did her eyes glaze over at that point?
You do at this point notice the Pomeranian sat at the doorway staring at you intently.
Oh God, the Pomeranian's probably a nasty little spy.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we trying to do again? Avoiding eating and drinking at dinner, right?
Avoid taking the tonic. The ideal thing would be to replace the tonic. Then we don't need to worry about it.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to take under advisement that the doctor tried to produce something that might help you, some stimulant, something. So I'll assume you imbibe that. But as you'll see from your handout section, Saturday dinner is now up, and there are many courses all served with their own wine. So to not imbibe anything would be unfeasible.
That wasn't my intention. Was to try and find and deal with the poison. But I'm sure the doctor's tonic will absolutely prevent us from receiving side effects at all.
Absolutely. Depending on the dice gods, of course. And so I see that the carriage clock starts to chime at this point, and you realise you've only got an hour to get ready for dinner. So you could quickly, if you wanted to, maybe visit the kennels, but otherwise you're probably going to have to get yourselves dressed and ready for dinner. Is that something you want to do right now, or do you want to leave it till a little bit later?
If it's only going to take a very short game time, I would love to do it.
Okay.
Because it's really, has his skull been done, and does he answer to the name of whatever the Houndkeeper was?
Rollo, I
Rollo.
think, wasn't it? Rollo.
Rollo,
Yeah. Okay. So I'll see the ladies. Forgive me, this is the Regency period, so it's not misogynistic to say the ladies may take longer to get ready than the gentlemen. But so the gentleman can quickly go to the kennels. You do indeed try those tests. You say Rollo, and there's an immediate reaction from the dog. And with a couple of treats you manage to find to bring it near to the bars, a little careful because it's known as a biter, the doctor can see that there are indeed the patchwork marks of some healed scars upon its skull. So we're about an hour in, so I think it's up. We take a break there. So we'll leave our characters getting ready for dinner. There's the sounds of the carriage outside, presumably of Eleanor and Tristan arriving, or maybe some other guests. Aperitifs are being ready, and we'll pause for now and see you all after our short break. Welcome back, everyone, and it's dinner on Saturday. You'll be delighted to know we've all been perusing the menu and drooling over it. It's a shame we're not cosplaying the food as well, but perhaps it'd be a little too much to fit into the hour we've got left for this session. So you've all had some revelations in the first part. You've come to some conclusions, which may or may not be right, but there's definitely something very odd going on. There's a carriage arrived. As you all come down and get your aperitifs, having decided you're not going to take any of the tonic, but aware that there's a lot of courses and a lot of drinks to be had, how you'll avoid it, you're not quite sure. You're just going to try and sniff test things and look for viscosity or oiliness and maybe try and avoid those. But stood in the main area is Lord Tristan. He's a ruddy-faced man with a green velvet jacket, about 6'2". He's broad shoulders, ruddy cheeked, and he's just got an air of arrogance about him that radiates, and it appears that he's on his own. He's not brought the Lord's daughter with him. I shall just try and find you a little picture. And if I show that to everybody, you should get a nice little picture of him, so you get an impression. And before you have much time to do introductions, you've taken through and seated as preparations start for dinner. He sat in Mr. Arkwright's seat as Arkwright is still missing, and no one else mentions the fact that he's not there. Mrs. Arkwright, perhaps understandably now, you have some indication of what might be happening, doesn't seem to care. She's quite happily sat there and looking at her plate and looking up expectantly at people, waiting for someone to put some juicy morsels on the plate so she can devour them, hopefully maintaining some kind of decorum at the same time for the sake of everybody involved. Lord Tristan's looks angry from the outset as soon as he sat down. He barely acknowledges you. You managed to go through the normal formal introductions you would do, because there's certain levels of rudeness that the aristocracy even won't stoop to. So it maintains the correct level of courtesy at least, but only barely. And as the soups start to be poured and laid out, it seems that Lord Fitzwilliam is somewhat himself again. Maybe it's the doctor's tonic, maybe something else has happened, but he's not as good as he was this morning, but he's not as bad as he was last night either. So he's kind of somewhere in the middle, on a level. And as the soup julienne and turnip broth are delivered round, with all eyes on Martha to make sure the maid doesn't drop the soup tureen again like she did last night. She's obviously had a good talking to. The Lord sups some of his nice turnip soup and looks round a bit confused and says, it's a shame Arkwright's not here. He didn't mention last night he's partial to some turnip, and we put it on special. I wonder where he is. And he almost seems to overlook his son-in-law, like he doesn't recognise he's there. A kind of a bit of a blind spot, until Lord Tristan kind of scowls and says, well, never mind him. Why isn't he here? I mean, I don't mind that he's here or not here, but I've come on the assumption that he was here, father, if I can call you that. You've not been well, and it's about time someone took care of your affairs. And my understanding was this weekend was that myself and Mr. Arkwright would take matters in hand. Lady Fitzwilliam down this. This isn't a subject for the dinner table. Captain Oakley, please, you must understand. We can't talk about such things now, can we? Let's have some decorum.
I think matters of business should be confined to the smoking room, but not discussed at the dinner table. But as the lady of the house, this is, of course, entirely within your remit.
Yes, the smoking room later. There's no time for it quite now. And Lord Tristan looks a little bit abashed, but he's just sat there simmering, hotter than the soup itself, bubbling away. You suspect waiting for another outburst at some point.
Sorry,
go on.
I will turn to Lord Tristan and say, "What about your wife, Lord Tristan, Lady Abigail?"
Well, that's extremely decent of you to ask. Mrs. Gillingham, was it?
Yes.
Mrs. Gillingham, yes. I hear you've had your own unfortunate incident with a spouse. You had my condolences. I have to say, my wife was in rude health until recently when my lord's new wife sent some care packages. Some things to help her, apparently. Made her own fair hand, and she's done nothing but deteriorate ever since. From rude health to ill health. And he casts a dark glare across, and Lady Fitzwilliam looks aghast at this, saying, I do hope you're not suggesting I've had anything to do with this. I have her best interests at heart. I treat her like my own daughter. We've invited you to our house, and you've been nothing but rude since the very moment you've turned up.
I'll say now. Some medicines may take a while to get adjusted to. This is known to all medical professors. It may be worth adjusting the dosage. Dosage can be very, very tricky to get right in the first instances. I'd be happy to advise if you were to share with me the nature of these chemicals and drugs that were prescribed. I'm sure my knowledge could help to ease things up.
Well, very decent of you as well, Doctor. I understand you're at the forefront of unusual techniques.
Oh, well, yes, I am. Thank you for recognizing it. It's a shame there's not more have heard of me.
Perhaps when we share a cigar later, I can discuss matters with you, because we shouldn't discuss things in public, should we? Let's save that for the billiard room. Good. And the baked pike and other such things come out. The moves and the meals, it's just a little bit awkward. As much as Lady Fitzwilliam wanted things to be nice tonight and not like that, it's not quite as bad. Lord Fitzwilliam's sort of behaving himself, and although it's orcs because the son-in-law's here and he's been an ass, apart from that, everybody else seems to be more or less behaving themselves,
including Mrs. Arkwright.
Certainly behaving herself. She sits there patiently waiting. In fact, as the removes come, there's a nice leg of roasted mutton, some of which is carved off for her, and she sits there perfectly politely until Mrs. Rushworth says, "Go on, dear, you can have it. Go on, enjoy." And
is she eating with a knife and fork?
Oh, well, now you look and take note. I mean, there's obviously all these flowers and candles and candelabra and things in the way, but now you take the time to look. No, she's not. She kind of half picks the plate up and just like flips some and then catches it in her mouth and sits there contentedly chewing away and swallowing. And then when no one else is looking, because Lord Fitzwilliam or someone's having another rant about something, she just dips her head down and licks the plate.
I think I need a sanity check for table manners, to be honest.
Feel at any points if you want to impose one on yourself, do so. And yeah, with the removes finished, we move on to the entrees. And there's a salami of young partridges, a l'Espagnol, which were caught today. So that you might have to spit out the odd lead bullet, but that's all part of it. There's a saute fillets of fowl, again, from today, so the same thing applies. But they have the added benefit of being with sliced truffle and some chilled calf brains. And it's as these are served that Lord Fitzwilliam, I think particularly the gentleman, noticed this after the episode at the end of the hunt, that he looks down as one sat near him to his left, so kind of still quivering in a jelly. And he looks at it and says, "Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame Mr. Arkwright isn't here." And says, "You shouldn't interfere. You mustn't interfere." And it's like he's talking directly to the plate of jellied brain in front of him. And the lady tries to deflect. Lady Fitzwilliam says, "Oh yes, calf brains were definitely a favourite of his, as well as the turnip soup." And she's trying to draw your attention away from it as he seems to again go in that dark tunnel of maybe something from the past or
I'm
a
going to
vision he's had.
signal discreetly to the butler to get those brains away from him as quickly as possible. Just gently remove them.
I mean, I'll
Yeah.
say interfere with what? Interfere with what?
You mustn't.
Oh Lord.
Not when it's
A
happening.
hunt?
I can't do anything, can I? I can't move. And it's at that point that Jenkins kind of leans between you and grabs hold of the plate. Says, "Terribly sorry, sir. Terribly sorry."
I'll indicate my own brains as well. You can take them away.
Yeah.
Nobody partaking of the brains? They're very delicious and perfectly chilled. No? Okay, no takers. Well, what
Suddenly
you,
lost their appetite.
you can take a horse to water. Okay. Well, yes, the entrees proceed. Stilted conversation continues. And then it's the roast. There's a haunch of venison, boiled turkey with a celery sauce, leg of pork, 2 partridges and 3 woodcocks, amongst other things. Then the entremets of vol au vents and casseroles of rice and purees of pate. All manner of delights are before you. And I presume, tell me if I'm wrong, that you are going to eat and drink to some extent. Like, well, you can't like not eat at all unless you want to make a thing of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good. Good place. That's what I like to say. And at one point, Mrs. Rushworth looks between the captains, and it's clear that Captain Rushworth is getting drunk again. He's getting well oiled. He started to slur his words. And she looks to you, Captain Oakley, remembering what you said the previous night about keeping her hands to herself, and looks at her own husband, now well in his cups. Says, wouldn't it be marvellous, perhaps in the ballroom, perhaps we could have a demonstration duel between the captains? Wouldn't that be exciting? And Lady Fitzwilliam immediately starts doing that, look like, "Oh yes, that'd be marvellous. Can't we see it? Wouldn't everybody like to see that? That'd be a great thing to see, wouldn't it?" And
I am
so
not
all eyes.
much as I would be happy to show my gallantry. I'm not some fighting cock for your entertainment, nor would I fight a man who is quite clearly in his cups. So I will happily decline.
And Rushworth kind of like looks. He seems to be blindsided by it as well. He's like, yes, we'll do our dueling over the green baize, over the card table, perhaps. What do you say, Oakley?
I'm not sure if you have the means for that, but the billiard table would be fine.
"Oh, it's fine. I've found some more money," he says, and only slightly looks across at the doctor.
I'll happily take your money from you, Rushford.
Well, jolly good. That's fine. And I'm going to suggest the dinner progresses in this really awkward way with various bits of sniping and such like. Occasionally Lord Tristan makes an outburst. Occasionally Lord Fitzwilliam says something weird. Lady Fitzwilliam's constantly trying to smooth things over. And if anything, Mrs. Rushworth's encouraging Mrs. Arkwright with her odd behaviour. At one point, even like it's barely hidden, but she picks up a piece of gristle from one of the meals and like just lobs it over the candlelight, and the other lady turns it and worries on it for quite some time because it's quite spongy and cartilagey. But she has a good time chewing on it and doesn't mind that it gets stuck in her teeth. And no one else says anything, obviously. And we get to the part of the evening, of course, once again, where you get to separate into your particular rooms. So unless there's other interventions, I'm going to assume the ladies go to the blue drawing room and the men to the billiard room.
Yes.
Very good. That happens. So for the gentlemen, you've got Lord Tristan now, who's a new entrance to the scene. He seems very angry and has an agenda. And as soon as you walk in, it's clear he's going to start making accusations, outbursts. He's going to do something. He's been boiling all the way through dinner. Are you going to do anything to prevent that? Are you going to let the scene play out, or stoke the flames, or do something different?
Who is in there?
So there's yourselves, there's Lord Fitzwilliam, who's, again, he's a bit vague. As dinner's gone on and he's had something to drink, he seems to get in more and more like his discombobulated state, but he's still somewhat with it. There's Lord Tristan, obviously, and Captain Rushworth is straight away at the card table, rifling through the cards and shuffling them and getting out his newfound wealth from the doctor.
Any servants or
Stacked up to
dogs?
His servants or dogs? Very specific question.
Yeah.
There are no hounds.
Good.
But Jenkins, the butler, is on hand.
Okay, he's all right. So my own view is that it sounds like the gentleman has legitimate concerns, and I'm happy to hear them. I'm not going to stop him myself, but the doctor may differ.
No, I think I'm quite happy to let this play out. I wonder, in fact, if this is an opportunity for us to slip away and do a bit of poking around this evening. If there's going to be a big to-do, that
the most important thing at this stage, I think, is not to drink the brandy. So I've got my hip flask here, so maybe we could do a bit of try some of mine.
Yeah,
very good. It's a
So you've
very
got a
good
plan.
year.
Yeah, indeed it is. Could you both make a constitution check for me, please?
Yes.
yes.
Good job, you have that hip flask. Okay, neither of you seem to be impaired. And if you want
Hooray.
to, yeah, what a bonus. You can certainly try and disappear off, as you would expect. Lord Tristan's going to just lay into his father-in-law about all manner of things, and the father-in-law's not in a fit state to answer sensibly, which just incenses Lord Tristan. So there's very quickly an escalating argument with Captain Rushworth sat in the middle going, perhaps we could all play cards, would that help? And that kind of thing to try and do something. So you've got an opportunity to try and slip away. There is Jenkins the butler there, but it's going to require a roll to make sure you get away unobserved if that's what you want to do.
I mean, yeah, I think even if just one of us slips away on their own, I think that's what the doctor wants to do. He has no interest in hearing about this business concern. That's not easy.
I'm quite happy to stay or go. It would probably make more sense for any one of us to slip away from the etiquette point of view, although from the being on our own in the dark point of view, perhaps not. So
different conversation. Okay, so
I'm happy either way.
So if Captain Oakley wants to distract the butler, then I'll say the others are sufficiently distracted anyway. You don't need to make a roll. The doctor can just slip out.
Yeah, we'll sneak out.
Okay, is there anywhere in particular you're going? Because it's quite a large manor house and there's a lot of ground to cover. So have you got somewhere? Because you can't be gone forever, obviously.
I want to find the sort of source of this tonic and where it's being kept and what's going on. And it's clearly in the kitchen somewhere. So I wonder if I can try and get into the servants' quarters, got sort of kitchen
Servants' quarters
downstairs and look round. Maybe if there's a cellar or a pantry, I can try and look in there, because I'm still a little bit haunted by that vision of somebody who was trapped in the dark. And I think I want to just go downstairs, look around for the tonic or any signs of anything that's going on there, because clearly the staff are either in on this or have some sort of brain transplant thing going on. So
okay. Yeah, cool. So we'll assume you do servants' quarters is the kind of area you're trying to cover while you've got time. Yeah. Okay. We'll just pause there because I want to make sure the ladies are okay. So we'll go to the blue drawing room. Have you got any initial plan, or are you ladies also going to see what happens and how things play out? It seems like Lady Fitzwilliam herself is kind of just pretending like it's a normal weekend. There's nothing wrong. Obviously, Mrs. Arkwright has some issues. And Mrs. Rushworth seems to be being particularly playful with her. So are you happy just to see if anything transpires, or have you got a plan going in about what you wish to do?
Apart from not drinking.
Okay.
I would
Let's both
probably.
make constitution rolls then if we've not got to.
Sure. Always fun.
We didn't do
Okay.
very well.
You're both quite woozy. So
This
for now,
yeah.
you're having a nice game of bridge. There's 4 of you because clearly Mrs. Arkwright can't take part. She's happy just curled up next to the fire right now. The other 4 of you playing, and the pair of you, you're still with it because you've taken the doctor's tonic and it's keeping you awake, but you both feel very drowsy and everything's fuzzy around the edges. It's a little bit woolly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think like time seems a little bit drawn out sometimes. You can see someone's mouth moving. It takes a few seconds for the sounds to get to you, but you're kind of with it.
Can I excuse myself off the table because I believe I had maybe a bit much to drink. I'm a bit dizzy. I believe fresh air could help.
Let's, of course, don't worry about it. I'll send Dorothy with you.
Oh, that's okay. Actually, I was thinking that Mrs. Gillingham does not look very
It would be a
well too.
pleasure to accompany you. Don't worry, I will chaperone the young lady.
I couldn't possibly dream of letting you both out in the evening on your own. Who knows
Well,
what you partly might be for
we're
you.
just about to be standing on a porch and having some fresh air, and then we'll come back.
Okay,
Can
you
I
can
roll?
make your charm and or persuade roll, but you're going to get a penalty die because you're somewhat impaired.
Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to go with charm. How do I do the penalty roll here?
So you make your normal charm roll, and then you press the bonus penalty button at the bottom, which will give you another tens die, so we can see whether you actually have succeeded. So,
okay.
so you actually got
Ouch.
95, not 35.
No.
Can I somehow push it?
How would you push it? What would that look like?
Um,
Because she's been quite insistent that you don't, and it's her house. So what would you do?
I would stand with my glass of whatever beverage we have. I would stand up, making a step towards Mrs. Gillingham, and I will trip and spill some of this drink on her and say, "Oh, I'm so terribly sorry. See, now we really have to have this fresh air now. I'm losing my control already."
If only you had Mr. Arkwright's napkin stuff down the front of your dress, that would have been fun.
Yes, that
Okay,
could have
And I
helped.
clearly need to,
Oh,
rearrange myself.
I'm so sorry. Would you like me
You
to help
clumsy
you?
girl.
I'll help you clean it. Okay, I'll help you
Thank
clean
you.
it. We will not even leave the house.
that's definitely sufficient to push the roll. I'm ready to escalate my consequences if you want to make your roll again to see whether you succeed.
I think I succeeded even with
You
a.
do. Even with the
Yay.
penalty, you do. Okay. You can see it written all over her face. Lady Fitzwilliam is thinking about sending someone anyway, and then she thinks that you're already on your way to slumber anyway. It looks like, or she's convinced that there's no harm in letting you go off and rearrange yourselves, and expects not to see you till tomorrow morning. You expect, so you can slip out, the pair of you. And where are you heading?
I honestly have no idea. I'm just happy we're out.
Excellent. Well, we'll let Mrs. Gillingham think about that for a second. I'll come back to you. I'll just check in with the doctor. So, Doctor, it's classic Call of Cthulhu time. You get to make your spot hidden roll.
Lovely. Yes, well, I was hidden. I've spotted it. Unless it's hard to spot or extreme hard to spot.
Extremely hard to spot.
Yeah.
You search around. The cook's a bit annoyed that you've come around poking around again and all the rest of it. But although there's nothing to find in the kitchens, and looking around the servants, you've actually spotted that Dorothy, the elderly maid, was quite quick to get out of the servants' quarters when she saw you come, by her standards. So still quite slow, but you saw her making a move. And although you have a quick look round, you look at a few things until it becomes untenable to stay there without being, just called out for it. You rush off and find her heading back upstairs. And she's got something in her apron. It's clear that she's clutching something and making sure it stays in there as she rushes upstairs. And you have an opportunity to kind of hunt her down, which, the speed she moves compared to the speed you move is not an issue. Yeah. We don't have to roll dice for it. So when she's upstairs, you can kind of corner her at one point. She says, "Oh, my lord, sorry, is there something you needed?"
It's exactly what I need, is what you have, old girl.
Oh, no, I don't have anything. Oh, perhaps we need some fresh air. And she starts rushing to one of the drawing room windows, starts to pull the sash window up.
I shall grab her and throw her to the ground and wrestle this old lady in an undignified way.
You can certainly try. So you can make a brawl check, and you can have a bonus die because you're a fully grown man. She's a poor little old lady just doing her job.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Like you barely lay a hand on her, and she collapses to the ground.
Look at it. Yeah.
And a vial spills out of her apron. As much as she tries to hold on, she kind of grasps after it as it rolls on the carpet and lands next to your foot. And you see it's got that black oily liquid in it. So it's filmed the side of the glass. You see it's slowly pouring down the sides, or these a translucent smear of rainbow darkness around it.
As she's lying on the floor, I'll say, you should really get that arthritis checked out, old girl.
Oh, that's my arthritis medicine, she says, and starts dragging herself towards the thing to grab.
It is no arthritis medicine I've ever seen. What's the meaning of this? Don't you even think about making it up, for I'm a medical man.
Okay, do you want to roll intimidate?
Yeah, do I?
I will similarly give you you can have your bonus die again.
Yeah, I'll bonus dice it. Yeah, that's a success. Yeah, 38.
Yeah. Okay. She thinks about it and looks around for help, and there's obviously no one else there because it's just you two in this room to one side in the darkness. And she looks up at you imploringly and says, "Look, the lady's promised me I can have a procedure. She's gonna fix my hands." And her hands, when she holds them up, you can see the knuckles are thick and swollen. So he makes me scrub every morning. I can't carry on like this. But the lady's got a cure for me. She says she can. I just have to do what she says, and soon she'll. She says I'll be like Miss Voss again. I'll be young and hearty and be lithe like she is.
I think that's very unlikely. I wouldn't count on that.
But I've seen miracles in this house. Miracles.
Miracles?
Yeah, she can remove. You just have to believe it. She has these powers, dark powers, and she kind of looks at you with these saucer eyes in the darkness that seem to luminously glow at you. She's made all kinds of changes. Things have got better. It's my turn soon. I've served faithfully. Soon it will be my turn.
Who in this house has got better? As I look around, going through the head of all the apart from Jenkins, who can possibly, what were they like before Dorothy?
And funnily enough, she mentions Jenkins first. She says, "Well, Jenkins was gone. He was on his way out. Now look at him. He's healthy as a horse," she says, pointedly. "He's got a fine constitution and great strength. And poor Felton. Nobody thought Felton would come out. Look at him. He's not right now, but he'll soon be better. She's told me. Just more of the tincture." And she reaches a knobbled hand out again to kind of grab the vial.
On their way out, the constitution of a horse, you say?
Look at him, virile, strong, like that stallion the master used to have.
He's a little like that. Yes, I think. What happened to this stallion?
Well, it broke a leg and had to be put down, but that's not important. Why would you care about such things? Please, you must give me that back. And she gets herself to her feet and sort of like tries to grab hold of your waistcoat.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, old girl. I'll need to keep this from you for now until we can find out what's going on here. I'd be very wary around any promises of people getting better. I don't think the newfound youth you dream of will be quite how you imagine it.
But you have to obey or terrible things will happen. Terrible things. And we'll smash cut away from there. Ladies.
Right. So I am thinking for somebody to do all these operations and weird experiments, they will need some sort of laboratory.
Right?
And I'm thinking of where that would be. And one
Uh,
area
I'll-
we haven't explored is the rotunda. So I was wondering whether we should go towards there and
Uh,
find out. And
I
there's a
was
maze there as well. So
Yeah, I assume that the gentleman also shared with us this things about lights on the grounds.
Yeah.
So initially, I wanted to go out to see if there are any lights, and maybe they're coming from Rotunda, as you say, if they are operating at night. So let's do that.
Indeed. So you start head out into the night. There's a slight chill in the air. Probably you, Captain Ugly, as well, can see through the French windows that area as well. So there's there is a map in the player handouts, but to describe it for everyone, including the viewers at home, there's an area that's got the horticultural gardens. There's the large greenhouse, glasshouse thing. There's the hermitage. There's a rotunda. There's the maze as well of these thick hedges nearby, all in the same sort of area on the east of the grounds. And you can head that way. Captain, you're letting things progress as they are, talking to the butler occasionally to keep him distracted. And he starts to he's just side eye towards the windows because he can't help himself. And you see a patina across his face. So you can't help yourself. And you look, and where that area is, the greenhouse, for want of a better phrase, this big glass building, is now scintillating. It's like it's a July day at noon or something with the sun blistering off it. And there's all these different coloured spectral lights, like it's a prism or something. And they're playing and changing colours and changing in frequency and oscillating. And it's quite a sight. And around that area, you can start to see a mist is developing as well, like a thick, opaque white mist is starting to rise up. And you notice some figures running around. It's hard to tell because there's not a proper light, it's at a distance. But you wouldn't be surprised if it's your friend Fogarty, well, friend's a strong word, your colleague Fogarty and others that are running around the grounds.
Well, then I will run to the entrance, grab my saber and weapons, spray my coat on, push the door open, and let no one stand in my way.
Excellent. As
Perhaps
you're doing
I'll
that,
even bump into the ladies. Who knows?
yeah. As you're doing that, the ladies are sort of like, what's happening, and being a bit kind of ineffectual as you brush past. I assume, Doctor, you're at the top of the balustrade of the staircase, and you kind of see this happening. Ladies, you've already stepped outside, and you can see there's people running around the grounds. And as the captain comes out after you, you can see this mist is rising up as you head towards the rotunda. And there's a guy's, he's got a mask across his face, or like some like a scarf tied across loosely. He's got in his hands a cudgel, like a club, a piece of wood with a couple of nails driven through it. And he's just sort of shouting, "Where are you?" And he's a bit indistinct. And this fog seems to travel and start to cover him, subsume him. And as he's coughing and looking around, going like, something's wrong, he's just suddenly disappears, just pulled backwards into the fog and disappears into it.
Oh dear.
And I'll presume the rest of you all kind of like come out, one slightly staggered, but you're all sort of out in the lawn, and you can see there's other people around, and there's screams and shouts, and this dazzling light seems to grow in intensity, and the fog's going further and further around the grounds. What do you wish to do?
Roll for sanity.
Sure, let's all roll for sanity. I was going to be generous, but since you insist. Okay, if you pass, it's just 1 point. If you fail, it's 1d4.
you should see the fog in South America.
Yeah.
I just lose one, but I was even before you started describing this awful mist, I was going to have my flashback because I also lost some sanity before. And I think when I see it, I'm just remembering finally more details of the dream I had, because it started with a vision of sort of black fog coming towards me and me falling into it. And I thought I didn't remember anything, but now I'm sort of remembering some awkward figures in the mist, some feeling of danger and disaster coming if you enter the mist. And I step back and I murmur like, no, nobody can step into the mist. We're in grave danger. And I'm pulling Gil with me. Mrs. Gillingham.
Mrs. Gillingham, yeah, you are pulled back. There is indeed a blood-curdling scream that comes from the mist.
It's like, we have to hide.
And it's rolling across the lawn towards you.
Where is Captain Oakley? We have to warn him.
My duty is to protect the ladies. Are the ladies
you can see them
staying here? Then I'm staying here. If they're fleeing to the house, then I'll leave them to it. But I'll certainly stand watch over them. Otherwise, I'll obviously go into the mist with my sword, as you know, is my duty.
I'm dragging her hysterically back into the house.
I'm going to turn to you and say, pull yourself together, woman. We are women of the modern age. We are natural scientists of sorts. We are going to go in there and investigate what it is.
Or we can observe from a safe distance. Very modern way.
No progress has been made that way.
And I am running behind the captain, going, Captain, Jenkins is a horse. And holding up the
t-shirt. You know what? That's not the strangest thing I've heard today.
I'm going to pull my skirts up and just head towards the mist.
Come on, Miss Voss, don't be left alone.
Okay.
I'm following, but very hesitantly.
Okay, you head into the mist. Somebody who is leading, which sounds like the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make a navigate roll for me to have any sense of direction?
A navigate roll. Yeah, okay. Yeah, what I'm doing is heading towards the sounds. Let's have a look. Navigate. There we go.
Screams.
Do we still see the lights from the greenhouse?
Not when you get into the fog.
A success.
Yes, you pretty sure you know where the rotunda is, and you head in that direction. What was white mist that's now filling the air, you all feel a chill. It's no longer spring; it feels like it's winter. You can see a hoarfrost start to like grow on your clothes and show. You can see like the rime of frost across your clothes. Everything's deeply cold, and the captain's pressing forward, and you can't see him more than a couple of meters ahead of you. So you have to almost crocodile, and one hand holds the hand in front and one the hand behind, and you press forward. You can see not only the white now, but the fog itself seems to become multi-hued. You imagine following the pattern that came from the glass house, but you can't tell. And you get close in. The more you press forward, Captain, the more you're sure that the rotunda is the source of whatever's generating this unnatural fog. However, you become very, very cold. Your facial hair starts to freeze and crack on you, and you shiver uncontrollably. Your teeth are clattering.
Very well.
Do you still press forward?
No, this isn't something that can be fought with weapons, I think. All that will happen is that we'll die in the cold. There's no shame on any of us to retreat. What do you think?
Lead everybody out?
If that's what they want, yeah.
What do you
Are
want?
we feeling cold as well?
Oh, everybody's feeling the same. The captain feels it first because he's leading, but and he's a bit more hardy than you, so it probably hits you more suddenly because there's more he can withstand before he starts to feel uncomfortable. But yes, you're all feeling the same.
I'm probably talking all the way while we're going, like, shakingly. Are you sure we need to go there? are we supposed to follow the light? Is there a light to follow? Or maybe if we're following the light, that means that we're going towards our death, or vice versa, to our hope. Captain, do you know where we're going?
Can I actually see a light other than the light from the glass house? Are there any
Now
other?
deep in this fog, you can't really get a sense of direction. It's only your innate sense of where things lie and your military bearing. You're pretty sure you've got an idea where the manor house is, where the rotunda was, and you've picked a tree position. If you get turned around after deviate, you'll lose all sense of where you are.
Miss Voss, first of all, let me lend you my coat. I insist. So I'll take my coat off and put it around Miss Voss's shoulders. We must return. We must return directly to the house. I did understand that some local villagers were going to come here and explore, but unfortunately, they may well have met their end. And I cannot fight the cold with weapons, so I will do my very best to navigate us all back.
With my sense of natural philosophy, do I have this feeling that the cold is unnatural? Because normally fog would
Definitely.
be... Yes, all right.
Definitely unnatural.
There's something very peculiar, though. We have to investigate tomorrow.
I do have some knowledge of occult. Does it ring a bell? Something like cold fog? Was it ever mentioned in any of the books I read?
I mean, it's probably mentioned in all the books that you've read, not in a helpful way. It was always dark. There was a fog. It was raining. Yeah, there's nothing specific you have to mind. It's a new experience for all of you, and it feels very upsetting. So shall I take it that you're going to make your way back and out and preserve your life?
Return.
Yeah.
You do so. You can get back to the manor, and once you're within the close proximity of the manor, like the fog's more or less stayed away. And it's as you're at the manor and kind of like look back nervously over your shoulders, you can see that it is indeed unnatural. It seems almost like a wall of fog that stopped. It's not bits of it in a cloudy sort of fashion like that. It's almost like a literal wall that's got to a certain radius and more or less stops there. It's not drifting about with the wind as you would expect, and it's multi-hued, and the colours on the glass house have died down now, and it's just got a faint glow on it, as if the sun was skimming it, and you could see a sort of rainbowy, swirly petrol effect on the top of it, but it's died down to a muted colour. And the ladies have come rushing out, saying, "Oh, so what's happened? Oh my God, I can see. But it's not frost on you. Oh, you should definitely stay away from there."
There is this fog. Have you seen this fog before, Lady Fitzwilliam?
Best to stay well out of that. Oh, it's terribly cold outside. Please, everybody should come inside.
Thank you.
I've heard there's people in the grounds, don't we? We've released the hounds. They'll deal with any intruders. You're perfectly safe in here.
What is this fog?
Oh, it's a weird temporal climate we've got here. It starts to get a little bit vague because it's to do with the mountains and the way the wind comes in. She just basically flannels you and tries to make up words and things that sound convincing or plausible.
Okay, I was going to ask for a psychology roll, but now that you mentioned,
she's clearly bullshitting. Yeah. No roll required. She's definitely trying to pull the wool over your eyes. But unless you directly call her on it, I mean, it's just the way it is.
I actually will. I'm super nervous. I'm frightened. I'm cold, and I do not understand what is going on. Apart from the fact that all of my books I read said that the mist and the darkness and the cold is not a good thing. So I will confront her saying, "You are lying into our faces. How dare you? We all understand that this is not some climate change. This is obviously some evil magic doing here. And first of all, the hounds will also freeze to death in there. And second of all, you definitely know more than you're telling us. We could have died there."
Jenkins, this woman's gone hysterical. Provide her with a tonic. And Jenkins starts to lean forward. Says, Felton, I feel in trouble. Man. And the big hulking footman starts to step forward. "Oh, Felton, protect me.
Right.
Was that a sword being whipped
will
out?
Stand away from Miss Voss, or feel the edge of my blade?
Jenkins looks slightly nervous.
Remember our last
Felton,
encounter, Jenkins.
yeah, Jenkins looks nervous. He's staying by his mistress.
Mhm.
Felton casts about, sees the silver platter that he displayed to you yesterday and picks it with a hand and comes walking towards you, holding it high in the air like he's about to smash you in the head with it.
Oh,
I'm going
does
to
he
trip
now?
him.
Excellent.
Yeah, make a brawl roll for me, would you please?
Yep.
Which is not what I expected to ask of a lady tonight, but let's
Well,
roll
I'm
it.
just
Like
going
it.
to I'm just going to stick my foot out a little bit. You know, it's not difficult. It might be very unsuccessful, but it's not. Brawl. That's not my favorite thing. Yeah.
Definitely
Okay.
push it, can you? You definitely
I'm
push
going
it.
to so I'll stick my foot out. It doesn't work, and then I am going to make as if I'm losing my footing, and sort of launch myself towards him, just to to fall down with him.
Yeah, I'm not sure they
You're
can
going to push it.
roll rolls, but
Oh
I'll
my
let you.
God.
Narratively, it makes greater sense to do that and see what happens. Okay.
Are you actually falling?
Yep.
Let's just roll.
I even know why. That's because the dress is still very thick
Wet.
because of the frost.
Okay, Mrs. Gilligan, would you like to take 10 damage?
Ouch.
What happened? Do you fall over?
Yeah.
So you launch yourself at Felton, and as you do so, he smashes you across the face with his silver platter. And as you're stunned, grabs you and just runs you headlong into the stairs. So you smash into it, and then buries his teeth in your neck and starts like he's
Right.
trying to rip a chunk out of it. Are you still conscious, or
No, I'm at 0 hit points. I think that's unconscious, right?
you're definitely unconscious, baby guys? We'll get to that in a bit. We don't need to worry about it right now. Captain
The
Rushworth, I
doctor
believe you
can
have
help.
something you wish to.
Now that you've thrown yourself like a human shield in front of me, I will run him through with the cavalry saber. I was just going to punch him, but he's just almost killed Miss Gilliam.
I was going to protect Mr. Force, not you.
You did that. You threw yourself bravely in the way.
It was the pushing.
Is there still a lot of people in between me and the lady of the house?
So Jenkins is sort of by your side, slightly in front.
Okay.
But yeah, and then everybody else is kind of milling around looking. Apart from Mrs. Arkwright, she's run off.
Can I whack him with the saber?
Sorry, yes, I assumed you were doing that. Feel free to roll your damage because he's not paying any attention to you whatsoever.
Oh, that's good. Is the damage not already there?
It's there on the bottom, isn't it? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it just wasn't very much. Okay, you slash him across the side. Blood splays from the wound, which causes him to open his mouth and drop poor Mrs. Gillingham, who collapses on the black and white tiled floor in a most unladylike state. And he turns around with fire in his eyes, looking at you. Doctor or Miss Voss, are you doing anything?
Yes, I would like to make my way towards the lady and try to do my mesmerism check on her.
So, to use mesmerism, you need time, and you need to get the attention, and it needs to be.
Oh, I'm getting her attention. I was already moving towards her. I'm trying to establish an eye contact.
Yeah, but to be clear, it's not magic. You can't just mesmerize someone and it happens. You need an environment and time to get her in the state of mind and all the rest of it. It takes a few minutes to do it, to organize. So it's not something you could just immediately.
Okay, but this is my intent. This is what I will.
Okay, if you want to start the process, which may take some time.
At least getting close to her.
You've got your glass about. You're saying, "Look into my eyes." We'll see how that works for you. Okay, Doctor.
I shall rush towards Mrs. Gillingham to check that she's okay, and well, obviously she isn't, to perform medical attention, and to also make sure that nobody else gets to her unconscious form with any tonics before I get there.
All she needs is a bit of a bit of black tonic to rub into that.
It's
That'll
pop
sort it
this in,
right
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. I guess make a medicine roll is what we want to do at this point. Actually, first aid, because that's the first thing you do, but the same for you, more or less.
Oh yeah, I'll do
It's-
first aid. I think. Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah.
yeah, they're basically the same result.
Oh,
Ah!
Not a thumbs.
Don't push that.
there is a way I could push it actually.
I mean, feel free.
Sure.
What's the
for
negative
it.
consequence, though? We all know what that is.
I mean,
I mean, I was going to use the tonic. It'll clearly it might zhuzh her up a bit, mightn't it?
shut your up a bit.
Do you mean your tonic or the tonic that they've been trying to feed her?
That the second one.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
new
the
tonic.
latter.
What?
It is. It's an ideal opportunity to test if it. Yeah. If you're okay with it, Alina, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't, you're in these stakes. I know. So yeah.
No, I like it. I like
I'll
it.
go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll just a modicum of it,
For science.
and then a bit more
Yeah,
until
sure.
the dose works.
Because definitely the dosage is the important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't overdose me on the petroleum.
Dorothy was right. It's really good.
Okay, so you were on 0 hit points, right? Yeah. Okay. So you didn't outright die, which is the good news. Right. She stopped breathing. There's a lot of blood on the black and white tiles. So it's all starting to look quite black tiles at this point and darkly. And your normal methods, pressing gauze to the wound and desperately trying to suture up, aren't working. And you kind of look over each shoulder and then get out the nice dog tincture.
Yeah. I'm just checking that
miraculously.
I'm just checking that Miss Voss and Captain Oakley don't see me do it. That's what I'm worried about.
Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy.
Captain Oakley's locked in combat with
Yeah.
Felton.
Yeah.
Miss Voss is trying to mesmerize the lady of the house.
A few drops.
And there's a worrying moment for you. In fact, can you make a sanity roll for me? We'll see whether it is a worrying moment or not, or whether you're fine.
That's worrying.
You have the decency at least to be worried.
Yeah.
The common decency. Okay, you lose 1 sanity.
Okay.
She seems to be fine.
There's a moment when you're putting it on where it starts crawling back up your finger. And you're like, oh God. No. And there's kind of like that where you do it with both hands and then it's on both hands. But fortunately, you managed to reach in your own bag and pull out some alkalines and quickly spray it around yourself. And it seems to recoil from that a little bit, or at least makes it more liquid, less viscous. And you apply it to the wound in Mrs. Gillingham's neck and it seals up. And it's slightly mismatched at first, but it's got a plasticine quality to it. And with your heart thudding in your chest and the sounds of fighting and looking to my eyes and screaming and other stuff that's happening, you sort of pull the skin apart and back to it, and you mold it back into what you think's probably a pretty good facsimile of how her neck looked before. And it seeps into the wound. It seems to pull inside her body, and it feels like it's pulling the skin behind it so that it seals up completely. Until you look brushing with some more gauze the blood away. There's just that gossamer thread across her neck. But otherwise she's fine. I mean, I say fine. She's unconscious and lost a lot of blood, but she's not dead. And she's not going to die as far as you can tell. Okay.
Excellent.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we look round. Felton's been wounded in the side and he looks round and he bares his teeth at you, Captain. And he launches himself at you. So you've got 2 choices. You can either dodge and get out of the way and then counter back at a later point, or you can try and fight back instantly. Which do you wish to do?
It makes sense to dodge, and then I can run him through afterwards.
It does. Okay, do you want to make your dodge roll? That was lucky. I'd made a hard success, but your extreme success gets you out of the way.
Yep.
So it's probably something to do with the blood on the floor or something that makes him skitter and just miss half a beat as he just grabs, maybe takes a button off the front of your jacket but you managed to pull yourself away quite happily. And then do you wish to strike back at him?
Yes, absolutely. Here we go. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, I have to push it, don't I?
I think you can push combat.
They can't push
Yeah.
combat, so I can't.
Not technically. I did allow it earlier because it seemed to be narratively amusing. So to be consistent, if you wanted to push, you can do. But if you mess it up, then there's going to be consequences.
I'll leave it. It's fine.
Yeah, you saw what happened to Mrs. Gillingham. You don't want any of that business.
I don't want to kill myself for no good reason.
Now then, I'm going to offer you a similar choice, Miss Voss, as you're trying to mesmerize the lady of the house, and she looks away from you, keeping her eye on one of the large mirrors nearby so you can see what's happening.
I'm stepping closer. If she's looking another way, I'm stepping closer to her.
The
man who's defending her is clearly
and
busy.
she says, Jenkins, thrash her. Do you wish to fight back, or do you wish to dodge as Jenkins tries to put a big meaty fist in your face?
Yes, I would love to dodge. It is a hard success.
Oh, yeah, just got a regular success. So he swings for you, and you definitely dip underneath the blow as this massive haymaker in slow motion goes above your head. Maybe knocking your hat slightly askew, but not too much that anybody would notice. The lady of the house, however, at this point, just hitches up her skirts and runs and leaves Jenkins to kind of stay in your way. Felton is still like a rabid dog in front of the captain. Mrs. Gillingham is not dead, is the best thing we can say about her. And the doctor's looking around guiltily and sort of checking under his fingernails for stains or black stuff that might have got anywhere or dropped on him. I'm going to suggest that on this exciting cliffhanger, we leave this session and we'll go to a third session to finish off completely. I know everybody in Listener Land is screaming at the YouTube channel saying, no, tell us what happens. But you'll have to wait. So thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, ring that bell, tell your friends. And with all our friends in a perilous situation, we'll leave it for this week and see you for what will definitely be the finale of Regency Cthulhu. Bye for now.